Hello. And for Children's Lit 310 this week, to work on rounding up the semester, we had to choose a research paper topic, and I chose mine on C.S. Lewis, who is the author of the Chronicles of Narnia series, along with many other more Christian faith-based novels. The Lexile level for this book is 940L. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that is what I mainly based my paper and my lesson plans on. It is a summary. It is a story about 4 children who are sent to live with a professor during the time of war. Upon playing hide and seek, the youngest, Lucy, goes to hide in a wardrobe and falls into Narnia. She wanders around and finds all different sorts of creatures, and Mr. Tumnus is the one who explains to her about Narnia. Narnia is overtaken by the White Witch, who has turned the land into wintertime. Aslan is the lion, who is technically the king of Narnia. He has disappeared, waiting for the kings and queens of old, which, come to find out, are these 4 children. Once they all come in to Narnia, they face battles. Edmund, the middle brother, he decides to betray his family to the White Witch, and she goes on a search for them. But eventually, good overpowers evil, and Aslan turns Narnia back into what it's supposed to be. Now, on C.S. Lewis, he was born Clive Staples Lewis on November 29th, 1898, so we are coming up on his birthday. He was born in Belfast, Ireland, to Albert and Florence Lewis. They lived in Belfast because they enjoyed the area, but they decided to move outside of the city. Just 3 short years after the Lewises moved, Florence, the mother, passed away on Albert's birthday of cancer. This was a lot harder on Albert because in that same year he lost his father and his brother. So that's when he decided to enroll C.S. in the same school that his brother had been enrolled, the Wynard School in Hertfordshire, but C.S. Lewis called it the oldie school. He went through a lot in his life too. He strayed away from his faith that his family had so ingrained in him. But eventually he found his religious faith, and that's when he started writing The Pilgrim's Regress, the Apology for Christianity, Reasons and Romanticism. He wrote a lot of faith-based religious novels that tried to nudge atheists and agnostic towards faith. He wrote The Screwtape Letters, The Great Divorce, and Mere Christianity among the Chronicles of Narnia. And these were wrote in between 1933 and when he passed away in 1963. The last of the interviews that he had was May 1963 by Sherwood Wirt of the CBN, which is the Christian Broadcasting Network in London, which I found fairly fitting because most of his pieces were religious based, and he just Wirt asked him questions about how would you advise a friend to prepare himself to talk about Christianity, and he made the statement that I found was rather interesting. He said, "I would say if a man is going to write on chemistry, he learns chemistry. The same is true of Christianity. But to speak of the craft itself, I would not know how to advise a man how to write. It is a matter of talent or interest. I believe he must be strongly moved if he or she is to become a writer. Writing is like a lust or like scratching when you itch. Writing comes as a result of a very strong impulse, and when it does, I for one must get it out." Now, even though the Chronicles of Narnia are seem to based for younger, I would say that this book is perfect for 5th grade and up to like middle school, because it's full of symbolisms, which you can see could be religious or philosophical if you look at the White Witch as evil and Aslan the Lion as good. It can encourage readers to think outside the box, do a little more deep thinking. There are different ways to include the Chronicles of Narnia in lessons, but for me, I think the 5th grade is perfect because they're just starting to learn the critical thinking and problem solving when you put that into the story. As for my lesson plan, the students would be required to determine a theme of a story, which is perfect for this book because there are so many themes. The students, we would start off with a sample like Aesop's Fable, The Lion, and the Mouse. The teacher and the students would discuss the theme of this story. And after the students understand completely, then the teacher will go through and read certain chapters from the book in which a theme is present besides the overall book. To help the students with the theme while they're doing their activities, I think it would be important for the teacher to have an anchor chart, which you could say like the theme types are good versus evil, sacrifice, bravery, courage, betrayal, and then on the other side you list examples. Bravery and courage. For me, it comes back to The Lion King when Simba returns to Pride Rock and takes a stand against Scar. So just have an example. That would be perfect so the children can look back and reference. Because sometimes with all that's going on, they might not remember. The students could work in groups. That would probably be easier. And on the worksheet, you could list a couple themes that are in the book and have a section for the students to write out what scenario in the book fits with what theme. And there might be more than one scenario that fits a certain theme, and they can list that if they need to or if they know it. Even though these books are a little more lost my train of thought, a little more difficult, I think it would be good to introduce them at a young age so they could start thinking more about what stories entail as they get older. I know that I loved the Chronicles of Narnia series. My favorite was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is why I based the paper off of this certain piece of his work. But he also won a few medals and awards For his work, it says that he won a Carnegie Medal. I'm trying to find the year. Said he won the Carnegie Medal for his works. He also received a lot of honorary awards from universities and stuff for his doctrine on his faith, which I think is wonderful because you don't see very many religious-based authors that wrote other works besides religious works. That is why I chose C.S. Lewis. Also, when it comes to teaching, like reading the chapters, have the students read the chapters with you. Like, you can read a section and have them read a section. Not necessarily popcorn, but just go through. That way the readers can get familiar with certain words in the story. And they can also ask questions if they have any questions on what words mean and why it's used that way. Thank you.